Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, to the Gamers Without Borders 2023 Bravo stream for Rainbow Six. Once again, our sincerest apologies, as I know a lot of you at home have been waiting for this game to start, and I believe, fingers crossed, I believe we do have a start in the works here over the next few minutes, ladies and gentlemen. We just had a little bit of a technical issue with the observation team, and I believe we have remedied that now, so we should hopefully just be a few moments away from the commencement of this series. You guys have not missed anything. I know, like I said, it's been a pretty long time since this game was originally slated to start, but we have not actually played out any of it, so you haven't missed a map or anything like that. We are going to be starting from the very beginning of this series. My name is obviously Blue, and joining me here on the screen is Stokes. Stokes, one more time, just to refresh all the viewers, as it has been a little bit of time. How are we feeling about this matchup?
Man, excited. You know, it's always a fantastic thing when we're able to see these two regions kind of clash, especially given their most recent circumstances, especially for CYCLOPS missing out on the most recent major, trying to bounce back and prove themselves here with Gamers 8. And we're going to get into it immediately here on Border, which should be some fun, you know, quite the interesting map, especially from the most recent major, so we'll have to see what these two can do. It's going to be the ban phase now, and CYCLOPS actually with no ban to start us off.
Yeah, it looks like, just a note to our production team, we may need to hop out of game here real quick. Yep, thanks very much. As it looks like we did see a call for a rehost from one of the teams, so once again, it's going to be probably quite a few times I might be saying this tonight. Apologies from us, folks, as we work to sort out those few little technical glitches here and get ourselves started. Make sure we are smooth past that point as well. Don't want to be forcing the teams, into any uncomfortable conditions or anything like that. So we probably just had to verify some game settings there, make sure everything is set up properly, and then retry that one more time, and then we'll get ourselves back into it. Hopefully, fully starting things out this time.
Yes, indeed, man. I mean, like, there's quite a few things that we can still talk about with these two, though. We touched on quite a few things when it came to their recent history, especially for CYCLOPS and their most recent change-out, you know, and Chibi coming in, trying to help out the squad, and their recent finish in, you know, as second in Japan. But coming from the Talon perspective, you know, good in early beginnings when it came to their Blast showcasing, but nothing really, you know, coming down to the wire when it came through for the tail end of the year for them, or rather tail end of the stage for them there. Ended up finishing out 4th. So we'll see if they can try and get things going here today, and see if they can potentially change their you know, their fate, and see what they can get going on here for Gamers Without Borders.
Yeah, the big issue for Talon, of course, was their ability, or their disability rather, to extend that 4th place finish into any better placement when it came to the LCQs themselves. We saw a lot of teams do that, maybe not so well inside of like the first phase of the tournament, but then maybe able to either rebound when things changed over to a best-of-3 format, or really was able to excel when they went up against kind of those like open bracket teams and whatnot there. We did not see that, unfortunately, from Talon, so it's all going to be about what they've been able to do in the downtime since then, which, to be fair, was pretty lengthy. It was about a month and a half ago now that I believe those qualifiers did finish up, so there has been considerable time for this team to improve on their game plan, but we haven't seen any tournaments since then, so we don't have any indication as to whether that's gone well or not. We're going to have to wait and see. You can see in other regions, of course, a good example to that would be teams like M80, of course, who had like the pretty lackluster finish of the group stage during the NAL season. They ended up like 6th or something like that, but then rebounded and actually took the entire regular season when we switched to best-of-3s and went over to the brackets. So that's something important to consider as well, with this format being very kind of long series intensive here, playing a best-of-3 and then going directly into a best-of-5 after only one of those. It'll actually be a good opportunity for these teams that have not been able to go to the end of a bracket and play out a best-of-5 to kind of stretch their legs in that respect as well. And that's a very different form of siege, in my opinion, just with the length of play you need to be able to keep yourself fully prepared for. That can oftentimes overwhelm some players, and then we end up with like a bit of a war of attrition if you go like 4 or 5 hours deep into one of those series.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not as finicky as well when it comes down to the one-off series. You know, that's the big thing when it comes to having a best-of-1, is that you can really catch people off guard. They're not really prepared for your play style, or, you know, something of the sort, and it doesn't really give them time to adjust down the line, and that's exactly what this tournament is going to give people, is, you know, time to adjust and try out some new things they've been able to rehearse over the last month and a half of, you know, having this downtime, catching up on the major, you know, kind of hitting the books, yeah, in a way, John, with these refurbished squads.
Just to refresh everybody one more time on our schedule, it's important to note, obviously, that we are pretty significantly delayed at this point, so that's obviously going to affect our other game as well. Playing things out between Cyclops and, of course, Talon here. We'll be starting our first map as soon as we have the lobby ready to rock and roll for a second time. Then coming up after this series is finished, approximately probably about an hour, maybe hour and a half after the originally scheduled start time. Depends on how quickly this series goes, of course. We are going to be moving into that European series as well, which is going to be played out a little bit later on today, and we'll have the corresponding European series, more likely played during its original or close to its original start time over on the Alpha stream. They also have the Sandbox game that I believe is live right now. It has been live for some time. So if you're sitting here just looking at our talking heads and you want to see some gameplay, you can feel free to head over to the primary stream, where of course there has been at least some gameplay going for some time now.
Yes, indeed, man. Yeah. So, I mean, past that, you know, what else do you got going on here, man? You know, we got Cyclops versus Talon. We got the little EU tidbit going on later today with Wild, especially coming back. I'm excited to see Wild play. I haven't got to personally commentate them in some Wild, or in some time rather, especially for some of these players. So, gonna be a pretty interesting day to say the least, even given the circumstances. So we'll see if we can turn it around here soon.
Yeah, absolutely the case, and of course it's important to remember what exactly these teams are playing for. We have quite a bit of a prize pool slated for this weekend. In fact, quite a bit just even on a region-to-region basis, but it is important to note, of course, those prizes are not going to be going directly to the teams themselves. They are going to be going to one of 6 charities that has been slated out by the organizers ahead of time, and the teams are going to be able to select that charity once they have reached the kind of end phase of the tournament for themselves, of course. So whether that's going to be the 6-figure prize pool, charitable donations, of course, that teams will be receiving in first place, or the still very generous, of course, I believe it was like $40,000 or $50,000 just to making it to this event. There's going to be something for those teams to obviously donate to one of the 6 charities, and of course feel good about themselves. And if they make it all the way to the end of the bracket and win that best of 5 final, of course, that is also going to be qualification into the main event at the G8 convention going on inside of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in just a few months from now. That is, of course, where the teams are going to be able to capitalize on their opportunity and earn the big cash prizes for themselves at the primary event once again going on in just a few months during the course of the summer. But enough of that, as once again I believe we should hopefully here just be a few more moments away from getting things started with this matchup once again between Cyclops as well as Talon to finally start things out here on the Bravo stream.
Yeah, here's to hoping, you know. I mean, you know, it's got to be right on the it's got to be right around the corner. It has to be. But you know, I think the good news is that we do have a lot of things going on with Gamers Without Borders when it comes to not only Siege, but you know, a lot of other things happening. A bunch of different titles, a bunch of different charities, and a lot of success stories here to come for hopefully quite a few of these teams. You know, we've seen a lot of recent history with these squads that they could potentially be preparing for a pretty big year later on down the line. So it looks like we've finally gotten some things in here. Talon versus Cyclops, and we got the bans coming through. I don't think we're gonna have any rehos thrown up. We'll see. Just give it a split second here.
Drone bugs not permitting, of course.
As long, yeah, fingers crossed here. Yeah, that'd be the next thing, John. They're like, Siege is like, Stokes, welcome back. We're going to christen you.
Oh yeah, this is actually Stokes' first cast, of course, in quite a few months as he took some time away, obviously to get married.
Yeah, they decided to put me on the stake. Yeah, actually, yes, not that stake. That was a good stake. Yeah, yeah, that was a fun one. That was definitely a fun one. And actually, you got to come.
Yeah,
you got to come out, man. It was a good time.
It was a very fun affair. I was glad to be there. And once again, big congratulations to you for that. But you're back now, of course, and we're going to get ourselves ready for this matchup. Once again, we got the bans rolling out. No huge surprises in terms of what we see from the ban pool. The Zero ban, definitely one that kind of sticks out to me as more of an interesting one, but still makes sense when you consider how Zero specifically can contribute to kind of anti-roam, especially for the early to mid-round of teams here. If they're a little bit unsure about their intel positioning, he can really help out to kind of lock down some of those more particular angles inside of like security or trying to control East main area.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I think that the awesome thing is, especially from the time that I finished up, or like left off casting and came back, the ban list has kind of opened up a bit. People are kind of not freeballing in a sense, but they feel a little bit more comfortable going away from you know, those hard values that we have like held so dear for so long, which is like, you must ban this hard breach, you must ban this, you must ban that. People are a lot more, you know, opt to try and ban away some of the bigger pieces of utility now. And I mean, given the circumstances of how the utility works nowadays in Siege, I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense. Right, we have so much secondary hard breach. We have a lot of different ways to try and get things open and try and break down these maps, and it's allowed for a lot of teams to try and hinder other pieces of people's you know, strategy not exactly as successful. So really cool that there's things kind of going on in that nature of things, and I really think that what we've seen here really does apply towards border. You know, I mean, you got the Ying, you got the Zero, as well as some other things really, you know, strung along here to try and limit some of the broader strokes that you can take on this map.
Kind of triangle of commonly banned out defenders, at least, has been left out entirely here as well. We're still seeing a lot of that inside of other matchups, of course, where it's going to be that combination of Valkyrie alongside a few other of those more powerful operators that were added in recently, like the Azami pickup, as well as, of course, the newest pickup as well, which is going to give that great capability to just counter out drone scouting entirely. Those three have all been left in place. That's going to give a lot of providence over to the defense and potentially kind of extend their reach. We're already seeing that in the form of Black right here, immediately going to be abusing the Azami utility by playing things directly out into security and just trying to harass the heck out of this early clear from Talon. So far it's working. Talon have been attempting to clear out Black Ray, but obviously those zombie barricades are blocking things up quite effectively so far. Once again, just taking the 90 angle here. Has pretty much the winning angle for that fight. No immediate way for Talon to counter him out, but they are going to still draw Black Ray's attention away from this one over towards the south main doorway as well, where there's still a little bit of fight potentially to be taken if Black Ray wants to get aggro. This is where that barricade comes back to haunt him a little bit, but he still has the confidence to take the duel and strike true on it, knocking out Marble, giving them the first kill of the game. However, leaves himself exposed now as he goes wild down the hallway. Misa is going to be able to exchange that kill back. The CIG will take back control. Misa, though, keeping it even, as another kill is claimed by that player to even us back down into a 3v3.
Strong pressure here from Talon towards the fountain position. Clash will be able to walk this back and just gather some intel for them. It's going to be Anaton, the shield player, as always, for Cyclops, and they'll back up the info as well as our Cully coming through in the long angle. They'll be trying to assist here. Not really the utility game to exactly help them. Roy's going to try and reposition over towards metal stairs, try and play this up towards beepers. We have some cross positions here, but the Clash is so powerful in this position, John. Especially now that, you know, Talon is down on the man advantage as well. Big issues here. You'd really want to see Roy, or rather Ray, try and help them out with this. But no concussions, really. He does have the concussions, rather, but no real angle for him to help from where he was previously for that problem that they were facing. They're going to try and go for the reposition now over here towards the main stairs. Let this cross now. Sophia might end up getting punished. Actually, no, it's going to be the plant coming through. Waiting for the drop here. To be a big play onto the Clash. Has the angle. Not able to get him down, though, and he's going to be able to lock him up. Gets the punch, though. Has to try and play in towards the hatch, but won't come through. Going to come on down to the Dokkaebi. He's locked up inside of vents.
Unfortunately, there's not enough player pressure remaining from the 2vx situation here, so at this point it's just nicely found by Sayora as the direct counter comes in against it. Unfortunately, now it'll lack for intel. Suzuk is going to be able to jump right out around the corner here and quickly trade out the hopes of the clutch from Talon and give Cyclops still control of this first round via the counter defuse. They're going to be taking the lead here, but it's only the start of the game, obviously, so plenty of time for Talon to rebound. It's still a very well-fought round, given the circumstances that had been put against them.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, I think that the fact that they were able to actually get the reposition onto site was, you know, very beneficial given their circumstances. It was a solid position there by Ray, or rather Roy, and the key thing is they were able to exploit the positioning that we saw out of Cyclops. But, you know, given the circumstances of that as well, their player advantage really played back into that the tail end there, and really assisted them, especially with the Clash play. Although it didn't work out, it was able to suss out where that last player was. And when you're inside of vents in that kind of position, you're kind of in dead water there. They're able to kind of just swing that out pretty easily. And that's exactly what comes through from CYCLOPS.
CYCLOPS succeeding, of course, in a bit of the extended gamble by going for the first floor hold on round number 1, is now just going to kind of double down on things. When it comes to that extended upstairs hold, and go directly for the site itself, into the second floor itself. A few changes going to come into the operator lineup, but for the most part, expect, especially the early round defensive focus, to play pretty much exactly the same, with a massive amount of utility, of course, and just setup going over here to BlackRay to kind of boost the setup on the inside of CCTV to delay that really clear from Talon, both over on the office side as well as on the inside, of course, of that CCTV area that I was just describing too, where they're going to try to block things off also away from Talon's initial clear. Speaking of which, Talon brings a very similar lineup to the table, still keeping Sayora on that Dokkaebi, of course, to try and play in for intel. That was kind of a core issue, especially going into the 2v3 portion of the round there, so they're going to want to keep that close to their pocket. And aside from that, a pretty straightforward loadout for the other 4 players as well.
Aggressive look here from CYCLOPS, though. BlackRay, all of his utility in his pocket here, John. Interesting position here. Probably trying to keep it held up so he knows where Talon is, you know, trying to suss out where Talon is initially coming from, apply it later on. Just to make sure that he is in the way of the actual offensive front. Trying to take things in from the south side. You have the Dokkaebi over on the bus side as well. I'm just going to be trying to suss some things out on the top floor with the drone game. Does also still have some of those logic bombs to try and assist. Fantastic position here for the drones. Will be able to at least find BlackRay initially, but they still have to try and solve this equation. The crossfire is getting built up, but what are you trying to exactly help him in this position? But actually, as soon as I say that, Misa will try and bring up the tail end here. Frag grenade out on the Yana and in, but it's going to be the Frost Mat. Doesn't check down. Not actually able to suss out Chibi at Frost initially. Not able to actually find the Frost Mat either, just unaware. Has to try and be aware of the gunfight, and now those gunfights coming in hot and heavy for both of these squads. It's down to a 3 versus 3.
It's the refrags from CYCLOPS that are becoming the real issue here for Talon. It was looking like Talon taking some great initial control when it came to their frag work here of clearing out CCTV, and CYCLOPS was doubling, if not tripling, down on that. Unfortunately, as with the most recent aggressive moves they've tried to make, they have really retaken that control, especially when you look at the HP for both Misa, who of course got recovered from that down Frostbat, and Marble, who was just injured in the previous fight as well. They've kind of lost their edge here, so they're taking a step back, playing it more heavily onto their drones play. For intel, Marble gets a spot through the 90 angle, unfortunately not going to be close enough to the position he needs to work that kill outright, so CYCLOPS continue to bleed down the time. Thankfully, again, all this happening like at a pretty early midpoint of the round, so still plenty of time for that outright recovery to come forward here, as Talon is working it nice and slow, still around the 90 angle, trying to keep that pressure onto Office as well to prevent the rotations, but Arcully going to be able to win things out for himself instead, taking down Kanos. Now maybe 2 very low players remaining for Talon's assault here. If the CYCLOPS try to lock down the second site, more than likely will be successful in doing so, as indeed Suzik and Anaton both strike true to end out the round and give the CYCLOPS that 2-0 lead.
CYCLOPS are doing a bang-up job of holding on to their map control right now, and the bad part for Talon is that they're kind of stretching themselves too thin. You know, you see them trying to assert dominance over multiple portions of the map at the same time. You know, we have a player working over on the vent side of things. We have a couple of players trying to solve things over inside of security, and that's all well and good, but there's no real help besides the Yana coming in the window there for security to try and dislodge BlackRay inside of you know, Bookshelf, and that's really where the problem stems for Talon, is that there's just too many, you know, problems going on at once, and they need to focus on one initial thing and attack that issue. And once they solve that, then they can try and springboard from that initial, you know, foothold that they gather. But they're already focusing on to the later portions of their round, like getting control over archives and these other things, and they're kind of getting ahead of themselves, and it's kind of punishing them because of that.
More change-ups to the lineup for CYCLOPS as well to adjust for just the downstairs teller site now. Most notably, of course, we were talking about that triangle and how none of the operators inside of it have been banned out before. We're going to see the third point of it now come out. Of course, the Solus enters play for Chibisu, the newest member of CYCLOPS here, and he's going to be able to try and roam around. Was able to find 4 out of 5 of the initial drones from Talon as well, so a pretty sufficient drain of the drone count right off the rip here. And and that is going to limit some of the droning options. For Talon, thankfully, we are playing on tellers, though, so at least in terms of just getting the angles cleared, you need to check the site itself. You're not necessarily going to need all 6 of those, but if Chibisu continues to take them out as liberally as he already was in the prep phase, maybe not so much.
It's kind of rough, though, right? Because you have to worry about security. You also have to worry about the top floor as well. So, like, you lose all those drones. I mean, granted, as well, they have the Doga and the Yana, right? So they can kind of help themselves out in that, you know, sort of a situation. But the key thing is that the Cyclops now are way ahead of them in the info game, and Talon is kind of flying blind into this situation here.
In fact, they have both the Solus as well as the Pulse to feed them direct player intel if they're not.
And the Valkyrie. There's so much info game going on here.
As well had been picked up there down at the bottom for Cyclops. They have that intel to build on as well. Good point there. Making it very, very rough here for Talon.
It may have been a minute, but, you know. Oh, speaking of, oh my. Only a minute off the board, my friends. And we're back into the business. Anaton, he'll strike upstairs, but Talon's already hit their mark. Chibi will go down. They're going to lose their Solus.
Pretty much instant response from Cyclops has been the recurring issue for Talon so far in the middle of these
Look
rounds,
at the drone game. Look at this drone game right now. The drones are completely just demolished.
Just 3 drones remaining here for Talon, all 3 being actively used at this point as well, so they are already on the board somewhere. They need to make sure they try and keep all 3 of these alive. It's still with half the round to go, and unfortunately now only 2 players remaining as 2 more kills are found out. Good snipe from Royboy here to at least stop the bleeding as Black Ray does go 1 for 1 on that aggressive exchange as he tries to play out there, but still down by 1 player. Anaton has been injured by about half his own HP, but he's going to be able to control that kind of disadvantage he's playing from now by just kind of packing away from the more aggressive positioning he was playing into previously and rejoining his teammates closer to the site. Oh, R. Kelly with another strike from down below as well. This one via Nitro Cell knocks out Royboy and leaves all the hopes for this round purely in the hands of Sayura. Just not going to work out as well as Anaton shuts it down from range. A few other teammates also helping out with that one. CIG continuing to dominate here with a 3-0 advantage over their opponents now.
Well, CYCLOPS with a dominant performance so far. Talon able to kind of pick up the pieces in a certain sense. We've seen them able to try and correct things, at least for their openers when it comes to some of these opening bloods, but not really able to make too much of it. It really seems like they're just trying to search for these gunfights, and it's not necessarily coming to them right now, John.
No, not the case, and that's something they're going to have to try and course correct on relatively quickly, as well as just the general improvements to the drone game. Hopefully just a symptom of the fact that we had Solus in play on the previous round. I hadn't been paying too much attention to it on the previous 2 rounds before that one, so we'll check in with it once again here in round number 4 and see if it's going to be a similar problem to what we saw back on round 3, and Talon will have a bit of an easier time clearing things out. Obviously, Cyclops have kind of leveled down their intel game slightly as well, considering what we have being played on the previous rounds, and that is also going to play things up for them, but they've already won this site. They're just repeating on previous successes now.
It's going to be a setup on the basement floor here for CYCLOPS, although the defense not looking exactly like it'll be dedicated there, will it? But that's how Border plays out. We're used to this, a dedication to the top floor and extending these reinforcements towards some more of these pivotal panels that hold up the outskirts of this map. They also got the castle barricade to try and break up quite a few of the longer range sight lines throughout the entire map for a lot of these door frames and such, especially on the top floor. So let's see how Talon trying to addresses this. Has quite a few different ways to try and do this. We have quite a few frag grenades, some Gone 6s, as well as the Ash and the Sledge coming in here to try and assist. It's really just going to be up to the team play to try, you know, break this down here for Talon.
Slow play as somewhat expected at this point. Talon have not had the best record with getting off to the right foot, and even when they have, it's been pretty much immediately refragged by Cyclops, or at least played to an even pace, so they want to potentially slow things down here, take a more analytical approach. We have seen them have some good early clear. It's like I said before, they just have some issues stopping the bleeding after that fact. The Cyclops want to stay aggressive, which they certainly have been of the tendency to do so, as you're kind of seeing right now. Once again, Black Ray playing it out directly at the beginning of the round, but it's not really hard countered as Kainos gets the better of him. He's able to knock him down. And the first kill of the round once again goes to Talon, and this time seems like in a much more clean fashion. No trades coming back out from the side of Cyclops. Doesn't really look like there's really any opportunity for Cyclops to find one either. So they're going to have to roll things back for the first time really in this game and try to play from the 4v5 disadvantage.
Well, in typical Siege fashion, as things get aggressive, it'll slow down all the same, all except for Anaton, who's going to keep us going. And as soon as I say that, with the Caster's Curse as usual, Marble will be able to pick up one, but actually it's going to be the gunfight right back onto Anaton. He was really feeling himself there on that door, but really feeling himself too much longer. Talon in full control of this position now. I think Cyclops has gotten a little too aggressive here. They were feeling so dominant over Talon, and this is what they've wanted the whole time, John. This is what their play style has been telling us, right? They really want these aggressive looks, and look, Marble's even ready for that. Nice little swing here, and it's finally going to be Arcoli that picks up something for Cyclops. An opportunity, though, right in front of him is Lisa. Quite low. A nice shot on to the person that actually has the case, but no. A nice shot here from the Ash of Talon will finally pick up their very first round on Border.
Arcoli able to get away just a few kills there at the end of the round, mainly because he works himself past that drone, which was not being watched, of course, by the Talon members. Talon overall, though, with a massive improvement to their playstyle there on round number 4 as they slow things down massively, take a kind of very individual-focused approach to how they look for their kills, and that pays out in huge dividends. Cyclops are denied of most opportunities to refrag, say for 1 or 2 towards the end of the round, but by that point, we already had Talon with pretty good controls. We were down to like a 4v3 or 4v2, so they were just kind of trading things out to a win at that point, which is exactly how they win it out there. Good stuff from Talon. Now they just need to keep a hold of things and try to go for the outright rebound at a 3-3 score.
Arcoli, 7-1 and 2, setting the world on fire. Chibi doesn't have to do all of much right now. I think Chibi was our Frost player from the earlier round that ended up getting that assist off of that play. We'll see if they can kind of get themselves together here for some of these later defensive rounds. Only 2 remaining here. And this one going to be dedicated towards the top floor, Armory and Archive. See exactly what they can get away with here. I love the Echo pickup, especially that they got going on here. A decent amount of delay, a little bit of, you know, that sprinkle of denial when it comes to the mute jammers as well. A lot going on with Cyclops' operator lineup.
Talon does ditch a little bit of their soft breach there at the last moment of the repick phase as well, and they're going to bring the Nook in instead to probably add a second angle to this approach. Probably very much needed when it comes to how Cyclops wanted to play directly in the face of Talon, so that could be a good assumption that the Cyclops are going to have a few holes in the back line of their defense that can potentially be abused, and more than likely will be correct about this as they play the timing on the Nook correctly. So we'll wait and see how that all comes together in the midst of the round itself here. The Cyclops is also indicating of potentially slowing some things down with the inclusion of that Echo that you had already mentioned. Royboy is on his way in, though, just starting for a direct insertion through jail. He'll more than likely lurk over towards East Main, or potentially just wait out the timer a bit more and try to go for a direct push-up battle from there. So we'll have to wait and see what his best path forward is going to be, because he's been slowed down there a little bit. As you see, there's a barricade in the way. It's going to be very not smart to just knock that out of the way at this early phase of the round, as it will directly reveal his position. Speaking of already getting into some fights, though, yeah, Arcoli down here. Oh, there it is. It's going to be Royboy from down below. The Nook actually comes into play a bit earlier than you might have thought to affect some change here and just actually outright take down that security player before they can cause too much delay. Nice early kill happening there, too. Only about a minute burned off the clock before they could find that one, so Arcoli not able to find anywhere near the delay that has been previously picked up by this player.
Here we go, Talon.
Continue to unfold from Talon. Sayor getting the most recent one against Suzu. Finally, Chibisu now, the new pickup from Cyclops, strikes back. And Anaton helps out as well with a few exchanges going back against Talon, re-equalizing it into a 3v3, although Cyclops still at a little bit of an HP as well as positioning disadvantage. The positioning disadvantage will soon be corrected, though, as it looks like most of their players are being allowed to back up and regroup.
Talon able to get the team play to work out initially, get those big pickups, but Cyclops fire back on the reposition, John. Talon attempting to extend themselves and take those fights, but Cyclops a little bit stronger when it comes to these later portions of the round. Frag grenade out. Oh, so close there for Roy. Oh, nice shots, though, but it won't be backed up. Marble will finally hop too. Able to take down Black Ray. Into the 2 versus 2 we go. Big rotations here from Roy, and what a flick. Nice transition here in towards Fountain. Marble will shut it down. And Talon, they've been able to bounce back in these last 2 rounds. Looking fantastic now. Really warming up when it comes to these gunfights. Cyclops not standing the test of time here on Border.
Great changeup to bring the Nook into play there. We still had the nades in pocket, so it's a good possibility we might have seen that first kill go off, although I don't necessarily think we would have seen the Nook make the entry from the same position had that player been on Sledge. Obviously helps out, though, at the end of the round, too, having that quicker scope, and I believe for that SMG instead of the rifle that Sledge would have normally had. Definitely makes that duel a little bit more palatable and a bit easier to sneak into there at the end of the round. It's a nice adjustment being made, and once again, just continuing to improve on the corrections we already saw used back in round number 4 that was as well, where Talon were able to kind of work more as a team, pick their targets one by one, and just slowly knock out the members of Cyclops. Whereas Cyclops is still kind of playing that pretty individually focused game when it comes to the way they're trying to swing their weight on the defensive side, so that's continuing to cause a few problems here now on the second go-around of sights, as they're at risk of losing this lead here officially at a 2-3 score.
These are starting to hit some rough waters for Cyclops. We'll see if they can right this ship. Set sail to a new destination. Maybe get some sunshine going on here. Don't know if it's sunny for you as of right now, John. It's a little gloomy over here in Texas, so. But we'll see if hopefully we get some better weather today. Yesterday wasn't too hot. Today, we'll have to see. But as for Talon, it's definitely warming up for them as they're back out and onto the field here. And they've had some fantastic plays going on in these last couple of rounds. I've been enjoying the adjustments to their overall strategy because, you know, their initial rounds, we saw them a little sloppy across the map, trying to work a couple too many angles and not really working off of each other. They need to be tighter knit. That's what we needed to see. And, well, we've gotten that thus far. It's really been Cyclops that's been on the back foot, not really progressive. They've been reactive towards a lot of what we've seen from Talon, and it's left them stagnated. See if they can try and get some things going on for themselves now, as our Cully is looking to try and find that same demon that he had a couple rounds ago. Only 7-2. Looking for the shots here through the triple wall. Not able to find it. Found some magnets to the equation. A couple people on the other end of the wall, but worries minus the soft paneling here. Buck probably going to continue to try and open this up. Does have to worry about the radio window as well, but oh, Marvel, he gets too curious, John. Sticks his face where it doesn't belong, and it might follow through as well. Well, he's got the 1.5 back. It's a fan favorite, John. It hits its mark.
You said it best. Just a little bit too curious there for Marble. Did not have the proper secondary angle support, so did not really leave an option available for Talon to be able to trade that kill out. And now it's too late. The player's fallen back into the depths of archives. They're going to have to work just as hard to try and locate it. As you can see here, they wrap the corner. Once again, that player has gone actually into a pretty risky position here behind the bookcase on the inside of archives. Thankfully, again, Talon's been a little slow to kind of adjust the pressure on
Does he check it
specifically. So yeah,
does he check it?
That's the big question now, and he will. But still, the kill's going to go into the hands of Arcully regardless, and he'll be able to support. Won't get, but will support Black Ray as well around the corner in small office as he picks up a 3-piece at the end of the round to shut it all down. Talon faltering yet again, and that is going to mean that CAG have their lead assured at a minimum 4-2 here going into the second half.
When in doubt, 1.5 it out, I guess. Like that seems to be. I see. I have not missed very much. Okay, the strategy stays the same. You know. Different operators. Well, mine's back in a new form factor. It's not a new form factor. It's the exact same as the old one. And Loki, it's Loki the best. It's the best version. Well, I was sad when they took the 1.5, John, and this is the exact reason. The MP5, it deserves love. It deserves it. It's a great gun. I don't know about your personal opinion on it, and you know, frankly, I think that you should just have my opinion.
I'm cool with that. Yeah, my personal thoughts.
Right? Yeah, me too. Me too.
Expansive. So.
I will say this though, I am very happy that Oryx is falling off, because I was getting real sick and tired of seeing Oryx around.
Well, we still see him occasionally.
He gets some play. I see him, but his. Yeah, exactly. It's more for the flair of what Oryx has to offer for the rotations now, and not the fact that he has a T5 with a 1.5, and that makes me a lot happier, you know? A lot more palatable.
Hopefully makes you happy. Is going to keep the Cyclops roster happy as well, like I said before, as they maintain that bare minimum lead scoreline of 4-2. You'll see if they can extend it as they need the remaining half of rounds still in play here. Try and lock things down at 3 out of the next 6. They'll be taking control of map number 1 of this series before we move onward to our further maps. Just as a quick reminder as well, as I know it's been a while since we saw the map veto, it's going to be Villa and then Bank for maps 2 and 3 if we do need to go the full distance of this series as well. CAG get themselves off to another hot start, and it's continuing to out-harass the Talon roster as they're going to find the first strike inside of this half, knocking out Misa.
Continuing to check positions here. The key thing now for Cyclops is not really an info game going on, just kind of going through default motions, right? applying utility where people would routinely play and just seeing if it sticks. And as of right now, not really finding too much past the Misa kill that we saw initially. So CYCLOPS continue to try and progress on this bottom floor. Do still have pace in their possession, but remember, site is upstairs, so although they'll be able to work for the position down low, it's really just to try and get a pickup of, or rather a flurry of kills via these frag grenades, and, you know, just try and get a depth charge off and see if they can potentially get something going, but won't find too much from that. Instead, they're going to have to transition, and finally, actually, it'll be Arcoli that picks up one with the frag grenade. Seems like they did have a spare down low that they were able to use and actually dislodge yet another position. Some nice shots, and actually, where the heck did that come from? Did he get him from down low, or is that from downtown? Either way, CYCLOPS absolutely deadly in this opener.
Yeah, and I see it once again working the angle work there for Suzu specifically. May have actually come directly from the sub panel wall going into security itself. We can look back on that later. As at the moment, it is CYCLOPS just shutting down members of Talon one by one. Last one in play here. Now, Canis is going to get away with one, but there's that immediate trade setup now working into CAG a bit more strongly that they're on the attacking side as they immediately knock out that single lost player and quickly course correct on a bit of a few bumpy rounds, of course, in the first half to still keep a very assured lead here as they work past the first round of the second. 5-2, 2 rounds to go until they take victory, and that is going to trigger the Talon tactical timeout here as things are getting a little bit dire for them at this 5-2 scoreline.
Yeah, Arcoli has found himself yet again, you know. He kind of slowed down there a bit and tacked on those 2 deaths and was kind of locked at 7 kills there for just a split second, but has rallied off 5 frags in the last 2 rounds, so he's accounted for at least an entire, you know, team worth of death in 1 round. So fantastic for him so far here in this game and shutting down Talon at every single avenue. So we'll see if they can try and continue this. As for Talon, they're now the ones on the back foot yet again, John. CYCLOPS are the ones being proactive, especially with this aggressive front that they're putting on initially. And although, you know, the majority of it not exactly backed up by info, it doesn't seem like it necessarily has to be when it comes up against Talon. These default checks that CYCLOPS are going through are hitting their marks, and it's really damning in the current moment.
No one really consistent to look to on a constant round-around basis from Talon at this point, too, to step up when that kind of is required of them. We saw Misa doing that a little bit on the entry, but Misa currently sitting at the bottom of the overall kind of scoreboard there, meaning that, again, we're seeing struggles with that, being able to repeat that level of success, at least, on a continuous round-around basis here, whereas we're not seeing so much for players like Arcoli, who have been popping off at +10 right now. We're going to see some interesting, at least initial operator picks come out from CYCLOPS here. I'm sure you guys at home have already noticed the blitz. We'll wait a few moments before we talk about that a little more, because there's still a chance to get 6 picked away, but on a Teller's attack, there's a pretty good opportunity that we'll actually probably see it stick in. So we'll have to just wait a few moments here to make sure it is indeed not going to get 6 picked away. Or re-picked away, excuse me.
All signs are pointing towards aggression, especially with the line coming in. I completely agree with you.
Conversational rule I have now to wait with ops like this.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a valid point that you presented.
All right, it's stuck. We're good.
Boom.
We can talk about it now.
All right, so there's no frost. That's what I wanted to say. Your turn.
Well, for me, I was just going to say we have a blitz in play as well. But as you mentioned, the Frost is going to boost the play potentially from Blackray quite a bit here, as we'll see him potentially try to go for a very quick amount of control in the building. Expected to be held back for like 30 seconds to him, and here they're still
going upstairs with it?
Yeah,
I thought they were just going to go right to Tellers. I thought he was just going to hop the window. I was like, check the window once. All right, cool, we go. But no, they're going to send it up top.
There's a bit of a threat that the roam game bounces back against them, especially on the hatch drops back down into areas like the showers that they may not want to directly challenge outright, even with the benefit of the blitz. So we'll see that more than likely held back until that can either be dealt with or properly kind of rationalized for them to go directly downstairs. It does look like they're going to do what Stokes was mentioning, and try to go for the upstairs clear. Talon may have a potential counter to this, but we'll have to see how Blackray looks to insert himself. There we go. The hot entry has been made. The rotation around the corner doesn't have a direct way to fight out the Azami yet, and she blocks the way, but Chibi strikes true to start. However, Blackray has some unfortunate timing, is spun back around, but thankfully doesn't seem to be changing up the fates of the rest of CYCLOPS here, as they are outslaying Talon, bringing the overall player count down to a 4v2, and now opening up the site for a plan as well. Doesn't look like Suzu's going to have much in the way of interruption. There's a few crosses still to be made over by the main hallway to try and get them back onto the site, but it's all unsuccessful successful so far. Royboy finds a single trade onto our Cully after he tries to move out to pick up that kill against the player crossing lobby, and will be able to get that exchange, but now Royboy, as you can see here, very much off on an island. No easy way for him to get even close to the case, and he's stuck in a 1v3 with only about a third of his health remaining.
Up the creek, no paddle. No information to go off of, and a low round gun with a high round necessity when it comes to the amount of bodies around currently. Trying to process things through the wall, but it'll be Suzuki that gets it done first with the V308 of Lion. They'll shut things down. A 6-2 lead now for Cyclops as they're nipping it in the bud. Rolling into round 9.
Looking to quickly close this one down, not giving Talon much of a hope at all for a rebound on their own defensive side. They will potentially change up the site one final time from Tellers over to Customs. Oh, maybe not, as it looks like they are changing that now to go for an upstairs defense here as their last-ditched attempt to keep themselves in the game. Now needs to be 4 rounds in a row for Talon just to trigger overtime, and then still needs to close out in 3 additional rounds beyond that, or 2 out of 3 rather, of the 3 additional rounds beyond that one in order to still actually win this one inside of OT itself. But things are not looking good, to say the least, for Talon at this point. It's looking cool to see a complete rerun of Cyclops' strategy going into this round as well, potentially even doubling down on that aggression, as we're also going to see the guard hook.
There it is. I was wondering when we were going to get a Brava.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of Brava conversation going on over the last couple of months. What did you see from the Brava experiment at the major? Is she a pretty common pick?
She's just like a different Twitch. Is kind of
no, that's exactly what she is.
Yeah.
You're exactly correct.
She's just like an alternate Twitch, unless you want to get like really deep. Specifically, she contributes, but obviously.
Yeah, she's like crazier Twitch with an easier gun.
And it's more importantly than that too is like really good intel theft with the ability to like just sneak in and steal away like default cams and things of that nature too.
That's what I'm saying. Like Twitch is cool because like
Twitch basically is
exactly right because like. Yeah, because like Twitch F2's sick, right? And like, you know, cool little drone, and then, you know, now it jumps and, you know, whatever. But you zap things away and you destroy them, so that doesn't exactly benefit yourself. Whereas Brava, she just steals it for the team. So it's like, why not just take it for myself, right?
Other than the cam theft, though, I do think that her ability is, at least in terms of the actual play we've seen with her at the pro level, at least from what I've noticed, has been like a little bit underwhelming. Like we haven't seen any like crazy like Banshee thefts that like messed up a team trying to rotate back into a site or anything like that. Like I haven't noticed any crazy like 500 IQ level plays like that. It's mainly just been stealing cams for better intel. But even that's like pretty useful compared to Twitch's base functionality of just destroying things. So we're going to see some play escalate here, but there could be some bad timing for Misa.
Oh.
Indeed it is. Chibisu walks right in. Misa unfortunately caught unawares. Sayori, though, elsewhere on the map, is still going to be able to maintain positioning on the inside of security. And we'll be able to battle back for that frag now and still equalize things down to a 4v4 at least.
Well, still plenty of time for Cyclops to try and get something going here. They're going to deal some damage to Marble. I do believe that is our player upstairs in Armory, and yes, indeed, it will be. Currently playing inside of Sandwich. Looks like he wants to try and prep for the hop out towards the bus side. Might try and take somebody out on vents if they do end up donning that mantle. CAG, though, they're in full recognizance mode, trying to see exactly how they can assert themselves over this top floor, try and get their positions to try and break up what Talon has going on here, especially for this extended position over inside of security. Tahiro will continue to hold things down. They're going to try and go for the old reliable. It's going to be the frag grenades underneath. He's going to walk right back into it. Oh no, Anderson will pick it up. And Cyclops, they've found what they've wanted for so very long in this round, but with very minimal time now. Looks like we'll be able to see if they can run this last hot minute.
That was the cork plugging the leak, so to speak, was the delay being caused by Sayora. So now that that is gone, we can more than likely see a full commitment from the rest of Cyclops. But like Stokes said, minimal time to actually set up for the execute itself, and plenty of time for Talon to now reposition their remaining 3 players is going to leave them in a more powerful spot. As you can see, Royboy ready to take this engagement from the backside of Fountain, immediately slays out against Chibisu. Arkali, though, as consistent as he's been in this game, may still keep Cyclops in that pole position, and indeed he will. Slays out all 3 of the remaining defenders and takes the map along with it, as we're going to see domination from the Cyclops roster to start out this series on the first map. 7-2 is the final scoreline, ladies and gentlemen, as they take that 1-0 lead to start.
Our Coley's got that dog in him, man. He was on top of it. As soon as he saw that situation, you could see the comms coming through. Fantastic communication from the squad, and a huge benefit, you know, to our Coley as he was able to take down 3 players in extremely quick succession. So very, very well done for the Cyclops player and Cyclops overall in this 7-2 matchup.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for map number 1. Do stick with us as we're going to have a breakdown and a little bit of prep for you guys to get ready for map number 2 coming up right after this, as we'll continue on with the action here at the Gamers Without Borders Rainbow Six event.
Gamers, UNICEF and I need you by our side for a real-life mission. A mission to protect the rights of every child. After news cameras have left, UNICEF is here. Every day, everywhere, but particularly where it's needed most. Did you know that more than 170 million children need UNICEF's humanitarian aid this year? At Gamers Without Borders, many of you have already chosen UNICEF, and I thank you for that. Choosing UNICEF is the easiest and smartest decision you can make, because you're investing in a child, and investing in a child guarantees lifelong returns, not only for that child, but also for their community and for our world.
The divisions in the world are stark. Recent years have shown some of the largest natural disasters ever in history. And that really hits hardest the people who had the least to begin with. These people need help. It would be a real tragedy if all these advances in science and health and technology only benefit people in a position to pay for them. There should be no lesser standard if you happen to be poor. These problems can be overcome. Direct Relief is a humanitarian, nonprofit health organization. The focus has been on the least fortunate, most vulnerable people. On a good day, things are tough for a lot of people in this world and in this country. And what we can do is mobilize private resources for their benefit and make it available free of charge. We're the first nonprofit in the history of the United States to obtain accreditation just like a commercial distributor. And it's been expanded geographically to every country in the world and every state and territory of the United States. What's now Direct Relief officially was started in 1948 as a private effort of a war immigrant businessman named William Zimden. The basic guiding principles of a war immigrant businessman really influence what Direct Relief has done ever since, and they begin with just serving the people who need help. We have this great privilege of engaging with people who come in from very different backgrounds, but with the same purpose of trying to just do something good. It doesn't matter if you're typing or talking on the phone or working on the warehouse floor. They're all part of an effort that means something bigger, and that is the fuel that kind of keeps you going. It gives you some sense that there is a way to make meaningful progress, even for a little organization that started at a kitchen table, but that's what provides motivation in life. The notion that many people, just by virtue of where they're born, the color of their skin, the country they live in, they're going to get sicker, they're going to stay sicker longer, and they're going to die sooner. That's pretty good motivation. These issues are too big for any one organization to address. We really work hard to honor these guiding principles, invite people to participate, and we are sure thankful for the thousands of people across the country and world who have become part of Direct Relief by virtue of their participation.
Progress is a race that has no end. After every finish line, another challenge awaits. How can we continue to push innovation in a sport at the forefront of technology? This is how. Discover how Aramco and the Aston Martin Formula One team aim to meet Formula One's sustainable fuel targets. Aramco, powered by How.
Welcome back once again, ladies and gentlemen, to the Bravo stream here as we get ready to jump into map number 2 of our initial series for the Korean and Japan finals here of the Gamers Without Borders Rainbow Six bracket. Going to be looking, of course, to spread out the lion's share of that charity prize pool that we do have to donate to one of 6 charities, of course, that were pre-selected, and of course qualify the top team from this region into the main event at Gamers 8 in just a few months' time. Currently focusing things up once again on the Korean and Japan region. We have the other matchup going over on the Alpha stream as well. But here on this stream, once again, as we mentioned before, we've got Talon going up against CYCLOPS. CYCLOPS just taking a commanding lead in the series, the 7-2 victory on our first map. Now getting ready to rotate into our second map, which right on cue comes on screen there and is going to be Villa. Stokes, what's your take on things as we rotate over towards Villa and get ready to start our second map?
You know, I think when it comes to what we just witnessed in between these two, it's really going to be down to CYCLOPS and what we've you know, already had. If they're able to maintain pace, I really see this as being a pretty dominant 2-0 for them, given the circumstances of Villa. But we'll have to see. You know, Talon still has some things in the wings that they can potentially pull out. Villa plays a lot differently from Border. There's a bunch of different, you know, ways in order to break this map down in comparison to Border, where it's a lot more streamlined. So we'll see what they, you know, have to go with here on their first opener and see what their offensive side has to hold. But as for the offensive bans, looks like we're going to get Doke and Thatcher off the board. So pretty straightforward when it comes down to that. Azami to follow it up on the defensive end is she's still going to be bubbling up towards the top end of that ban list, as she is quite fantastic at holding down and just reinforcing a bunch of different positions, either, you know, on site, around site, or really whatever. It's really, you know, the world is your oyster when it comes to her utility.
Yeah, those top 3 defender bans, once again being reincorporated entirely for this new map, is Solus also getting removed from the defender pool as our second pick to come in from CYCLOPS. We were seeing quite a bit of CYCLOPS themselves actually using that inside of the previous series, so not wanting to deal with that once again. I think we did see it pop up for Talon once or twice in their defense for the game came to a close as well, so just not wanting to deal with that, especially here on Villa 2, where drone info is essential, especially when you consider just how big this map is and how much of that clearance is required, especially inside of the early and mid round. You don't want to be going up against the Solus, which can, as we saw, of course, over there on Border, mitigate like 4 out of 10 of your drones before you even spawn in. It's not something that you really want to be dealing with on a regular basis, so it's probably safer in the case of CYCLOPS here to just ban that out.
Absolutely, absolutely. But let's get down to it now, as we're 10 seconds out from our very first action phase on Villa. CYCLOPS going to be bringing a myriad of different utility to the table. Goyo coming out to play, not something that we necessarily saw a lot of inside of the last round. Does he still have the 1.5? I don't even know. They removed that from him. Is he back to just 1Xs?
For Goyo's sake. I think he still has the 1.5, but I honestly can't remember off the top of my head. It is 6 AM, right? right now.
Definitely
So,
does still have those gas canisters though, and that's the key factor here is the limitation of you know, what they can potentially do around these stairwells with that. Ash actually going down quite early here. Misa, don't exactly, was he trying to hold the angle inside here? I think he was just trying to hold the angle there for the pantry.
Yeah,
and
Arcully
Arcully quickly grabbing that, huh? Yeah, unfortunate circumstances befall our friend there on Talon, and now the looks like his friends are going to have to, well, reap the causation of that. So, see how they try and handle this now. You can see him trying to set up some angles around the map just to see if CYCLOPS will play back into anything, but they've been doing a pretty solid job ever since we saw some of those other defensive rounds kind of go the way of Talon at not giving up too many gunfights that were too unnecessary.
Talon is going to still try this very localized attempt to move their way through. Canos run into some serious issues, though. I believe that's Angles coming in from the library side of things here, and they're just not able to adjust quickly enough to be able to hard counter his position out. Canos walks into the player that already took away quite a bit of his HP earlier on and allows him to kind of finish off the job. So already CYCLOPS taking a massive lead here in a 5 versus 3 situation as Talon, like I was trying to say before we got interrupted by that fight, Talon kind of trying to group all their players together, focus up, and knock out one player CYCLOPS at a time. But again, before we saw that second player get taken down, I was about to remark on how that's probably not going to work from a 4v5. It's definitely not going to work, in my opinion, from a 3v5. So Talon are up the river and unfortunately don't have any way, or down the river rather, and don't have any way to paddle their way back up at this point, it seems. It
seems like they'll be hoping that the currents will take them somewhere.
It's taking them to a bad place right now.
Yeah, it's not taking them exactly. Oh, Marble. I'll be able to at least get one. But, Marble, what say you when it's you versus 4, my friend? Well, he answered a question from earlier as well about Goyo. Definitely has the 1.5 as Aniton. Well, speaking of, he'll find it.
Oh, yeah, he's got it.
So. Oh, positioning. Is won't check his corners, rotating in there, and that seems to be a pretty common error for Talon, just not really having the info game going for themselves to try and work themselves forward through. They're kind of flying blind and hoping these gunfights work out for them.
Pretty much an assured fate already at the end of the round, so don't fault the Talon player too much, at least for my view on that one, from the 1vx situation, as it was very much a desperate ask for that player to do much from that scenario. Anyway, Talon, I think, just trying to kind of forget that one and move on to the next round as they got outgunned and outpositioned entirely. In almost every single engagement we saw there, Talon attempting to kind of bring it back and just never really being given a chance to do so. So that is going to be a strong start, a continuing start from the strong stance we already had from CYCLOPS in the previous map. And looking to continue that for a very quick 2-0 victory against Talon. And things are going to remain unchanged for map number 1.
Yeah, well, things have definitely not changed for Arcully, able to add 2 more tallies to his kill feed here. And Aniton also stepping up in a very large way is the Goyo that we'd seen in that previous round. Looks like CYCLOPS wants to get even more aggressive when it comes to this AVG setup that they're going for. They're going to bring the Miras and trying to open things up over towards the study side here. Still have the Valkyrie in play as well. That'll try and wrap things up with the bow when it comes to some of these, closer outskirts to the actual site. John, try and keep some solid info on what is exactly happening for Talon on this offensive side, especially because what we've been seeing from them so far, right? It's kind of like what we'd seen on Border. They're going through their default checks and seeing if they could potentially get some kills through that manner just by acting quickly. As for CYCLOPS, they could benefit off that quite a lot, just given the fact that they are going to have a decent amount of this info game working, as well as those black mirrors that are so darn difficult to deal with.
Slow roll either way for Talon, as they do want to analyze the situation and try to make a best possible first strike here in hopes of eliminating outright one of those members of CYCLOPS, like we're seeing kind of do towards the tail end of their attacking half over on Border side as well. But it's still going to be that slow process of trying to make sure that everything is safe before they move in for outright control, and still will not be the case. Unfortunately, Aniton gets challenged not just once, but twice, and is able to succeed a 3rd time as well. Talon, why do you triple down on that? Just full committing to each individual 1v1 with barely any damage done to Aniton throughout the process of any one of them. Blackray now jumps in for kill number 4, and that's going to be Talon setting themselves up for defeat, unfortunately, right from the outset of that take on the inside of Master Bath. Royboy is kind of awkwardly left sitting wondering what exactly he should do now on the outskirts of Laundry. At least might be able to get the 1 kill built off of Blackray. Indeed, he shall, but that's the very lonesome start to a very long road to recovery here. He's going to need to try and work on over the next minute and 20 seconds, and work on it he will. Rotating back through, now going to try and directly challenge out Anaton, who slayed out the other 3/5 of his team here. A very scary window to jump back into for that very same reason. Speaking of which, Anaton pops back in and gets kill number 4 just by quickly peeking in and peeking out one final time to lock in the round for his team.
Once again, Talon just showing up and trying to show out with really no causation or rhyme or reason to why they're, you know, really doing things, John. They're trying to just swing really hard, swing for the fences, and hope that it goes, but it's really not working out for them. It's really just due to the info game, and that's really what we're going to keep defaulting back to. They don't really have anything going for them in that department, and it's mostly because they don't really know what's going on for Cyclops' overall strategy past that, right?
Secret agent for Anaton as well now.
Yeah, he's doing fantastic, and it's the constant punishment here from Cyclops. Even inside these 2 rounds, it showcased itself perfectly. Talon don't really know what's going on with the strategy, and Cyclops are able to play it to its fullest advantage because of that. Constant aggressive swings off of angles that Talon aren't really ready for. They're not ready for a lot of these walls to be completely destroyed. They're just looking for gunfights, but even at the end of the day they don't know where they're coming from.
So Talon are going to continue to search for methods to try and get their first round on the board here inside of map number 2. Wasn't really short for any rounds on the board itself in the first map, even though it was ultimately a 7-2 scoreline. At least we saw them battling back every once in a while. At the moment, they've just bowed down to Cyclops two times in a row here so far, and have obviously allowed Cyclops to continue rotating around the map in the process. So they are now going to try and go to the 3rd point of that rotation triangle and head downstairs here for the one and only time we'll see it happen on this go-around. This round, of course, we're going to see Cyclops unlock AVG, following out a trophy as well. And more likely make an immediate return to the site, seeing how swimmingly those defenses went on the first attempt here. Slow clear here from Talon, of course, is there once again just trying to make doubly, if not triply sure at this point that the initial take that they will try to go for is not going to be immediately contested by Anaton or another member of Cyclops. Pretty much all of them will have full confidence to try and take those deals at this point, seeing as how they've been able to dominate inside of the early round. Cyclops really pulling no punches here, but does have an interest in keeping their extended game alive, so it's not going to immediately contest that walk-in play. Misa, though, will be first up to bat yet again when it comes to the entry power for this team. Player is going to have to challenge things out against the Astro hold, which there we go. Here's the proper angle support coming in from Sayora there on the side angle, and Misa's grenade will be able to properly position itself over the top of Arcully, eliminating him outright this time. That's before Chibisu can get back into the fight, though, and Sayora continues to once again have a great side angle to all this aggression from Cyclops. Cuts off a second member of the team now, and they still have pressure on the Astro players, too. Kanos is even going to cut off the rotation from Black Ray. That's that more focused take that we saw at least a few times back on Border that's finally coming out here for Talon, but Misa seems to at least missed, or at least did not respect the play from Anaton, still hiding up behind the Astro desk, gets away with it, drops the hatch, and escapes, and now Suzuk with the Nitro. They've evened it back down into a 2v2.
Well, Talon, they had it. It was in their hands, but now...
Oh, no.
It seems to have fumbled out. It slipped through the cracks. Butterfingers right now for Talon. Not able to secure things in the way that they so thought they could. Nitro Cell coming out as well as some big kills from Cyclops. A necessity here for Talon. He'll check, but that was the death blow necessary for Cyclops. It's a TCSG. Will
that's not
be able to deal the damage from downtown. No, it's really not. And again, I hate to be, you know, the person that's ringing the same bell, but they're falling back on the same things. They find these fantastic picks, John. They just don't go back to the info, don't go back to the drones to try and figure out what their next step is. They blindly step inside of Astro and immediately get eviscerated.
Which again is it's not something that, at least from my interpretation, we were seeing all that much of on Border. It did seem to appear that Talon had a much more analytical take to things on Border, and when they potentially made a bad entry or two, they would at least, like, you know, do exactly what you were describing. Take a step back, kind of reanalyze things from their drone's POV, and then if they have to, change up their positions in re-entry from there. We're not seeing that to any extent here on Villa. They are just, like you said, doubling, if not tripling down on certain scenarios and just walking face first into their own demise, unfortunately, at the end of the day, is what at least I'm seeing right now.
Yeah, they're face checking an awful lot, and that's really not what you want in Siege. And like, I mean, even past that, just to kind of continue to add some tallies into this this point. Their drone game initially is not all that strong either. They're losing so many drones inside of the opening minute and prep phase. It'll make your head spin, man. I mean, like some of those rounds on Border, they were coming into the round down 4 drones already, and it's like we need some drones to be able to at least work off of. You know what I mean? And on a map like Border, like that initial info, it's all well and good, but wouldn't you want info that you can actually act off of?
Yeah,
that's what I pose, right? So, and that's the thing is like they're donating these drones to the cause, but it's not helping them at all because they can't actually do anything with what the drone's gathering them. Look, they've already, I believe they've already lost one. I think that's an X already on the top corner, isn't it? Oh my goodness.
You came out this with no Solus in play either. Solus was outright banned out, so we're not even going to kind of chalk it up to the Solus factor as we often have been doing over the past few months. So this is just outright Talon blundering a little bit when it comes to their drone game, and even more so when it comes to the strategy side of things. CYCLOPS being allowed to kind of do whatever the heck they want inside of the early round here. The best example of that from the previous round is we were seeing quite a bit of the aggression from CYCLOPS being dealt with, but that player in Astro just allowed to exist behind desk and either wasn't noted in the Talon comms or was ignored when the entry power came through. And here we go again.
Nobody's checking drones.
Just popping the peak off from inside of Art Studio, I do believe, and shuts down one. And
Nobody
has his
is
day
checking
as well.
the
That's
drones.
A front door peak, I'm pretty sure, and indeed it is, as we see it now in the observer overlay. That's going to drop a second member of Talon. They just can't keep themselves together. This is almost already a 4-0 start from CYCLOPS here, as Talon are going to have maybe one more fight they can try to recover with, but thankfully they do. Marble at least gets the exchange onto Anakin, so they're not completely out of this round just yet.
Funny enough, Kanos droned that guy. That's how that one worked. So
well, there you go. When it works, it works.
CYCLOPS are completely disrespecting Talon, and I mean, like, to be honest, why wouldn't you, right? At this point, like, there's no info network going on to where they're gonna know what you're doing, so they're just walking out of spawn blindly, and that's 2 free kills for CYCLOPS. They didn't even Talon didn't even slow down when they lost their first one, John. They're like, oh, that guy's dead. That's oh no. Oh, he's dead too. Okay. Yeah. So it's just unfortunate circumstances yet again for Talon, and like the easy thing, the big fight back that they need to do is just their info game. They still have 6 drones that they have access to. They're not even double checking to make sure that they can hop into Art for the hatch being open for the player inside of Study. It's just they're falling apart at the seams here, and CYCLOPS are simply just the orchestrating this entire thing. They're definitely showing a masterclass of how to try and play against somebody with really no info going on. All they have to worry about is the audio, and as long as they can try and make an aggressive play quickly with other things going on, they're more than likely going to take down Talon.
You could see that with the final play being made via a flank down through Study
exactly.
as well. It's just no capability to multitask there. In part, of course, obviously due to the players that have been drained from their lineup earlier on in the round. But, I mean, we were seeing those mistakes made right from the very beginning of it with those 2 picks that, like you mentioned a few times, should have been pre-droned, or at least they should have had some intuition that there was going to be a play style like that thrown out there, so maybe would have held back their initial advance a little bit more. None of that, as Talon, once again, like I said during the pause, walk face first into their own demise and give CYCLOPS another round. 4-0 lead now for CYCLOPS because of that. And Anakin at 10-1.
Yeah, I mean, this is where if the entirety of CYCLOPS hasn't taken like the gloves off, right? Like if they haven't taken the limiter off, then I mean, just full bore. Get aggressive, swing everything, play together. Talon, this is where you pressure Talon.
It's not that Talon can't counter CYCLOPS in a head-to-head gunfight. We've already seen them do it, especially on map number 1 here.
Talon have lost full. They went back to the Finca. They thought about the Lion there for a second to try and slow them down, but the Lion doesn't really help them because Lion's really only beneficial if you pre-drone things. You really want drone info to work off of in those circumstances. It helps out a lot.
Finish the point again. There's just no real coalescence between the members of Talon, especially when things get chaotic. It really builds on itself once they lose a player or 2, it seems, and that's going to be a core issue that time after time again, CYCLOPS will abuse that if they sense blood in the water. As a result of that, CYCLOPS is continuing to dominate here on map number 2. A potential 7-0 is not out of the cards with the way that this game has been devolving so far, but Talon will do their best to still try and turn things back around with 2 to go on this first half here. 2 more attacks, potentially still to make their mark. And hopefully make a second half comeback a little bit more palatable if we're going to see anything out of Talon at all. If not, like I said before, Could be that quick 2-0 for Cyclops to send them right on to tomorrow's grand final best of 5. It's whoever wins the other game. Going on to the mainstream right now. Good early strike here from Misa. Catches the rotate from Anaton. Not initially aware of things, and now continues to put the pressure forward. Now it's Cyclops making the mistake of intel here. As Jimisu gets caught with his pants down due to the advance of Misa.
Yeah, and they even kind of knew what was up with that, but just a little too quick to the trigger there. Ends up getting punished on the rotation. Chibi not gun up and instead choosing to sprint across tarps there. Now Talon, strong position, but we need to see them try and abuse it. They have so many drones this time around, John. All of their players existing. There is no reason shouldn't be able to try and find the next strike on this. Black Ray, we go for the rotation here. This might be the key factor. Talon's so focused on this top floor. Black Ray, he just can't slow down. That's the key thing. He's so worried about somebody potentially holding his cross or some info coming out here, but move might be necessary. See the Nook moving back towards kitchen. Oh, Black Ray, he's got the timing, but it might escape him, John. They're gonna go through the escape hatch. This back door, it's working out for them. They're droning up now. CAG, he's gonna get a kill here. The pressure's starting to build up. His timing's fantastic. It's still working out down low as well for him. No drones came through. The rotation now upstairs. Arcully, he's in the position. He'll be able to find one, but he's going to get taken down from the bathroom as Kanos will swing on out. Be able to at least hold on when it comes towards Astro for the time being. Some assistants coming up the stairwell as well. Strong positions right now, though, for Cyclops. These crosses, they're going to come to bear. Black Ray with a big pickup. I think that was on one of the positions down low. A nice swing, but the TCSG, it's so very strong. Another one comes out from the SMG-11, and Anaton and CAG all over Talon on Villa.
Beautiful hold from Cyclops there to lock in round number 5 for themselves. For me, it's that second kill we see from Arcully is where things really turn around back into the favor of Cyclops. They had 3, I believe, players on Talon with an angle looking at least in the general direction of Arcully right there, but had to give away still at least one of their own players before he could finally be traded out. And that's on top of the free kill he got through the vertical angle about like 10 or 15 seconds before that one. So just letting him get away with far too much from as an advanced of a position inside of Astro that he was playing from there just cost Talon far too much, and they just did not have the player count, let alone the gun skill there to outfrag the remaining members of Cyclops once they finally traded him.
Yeah, it is tatters right now for Talon. I mean, they're probably just thinking about hitting the showers right now, I'll be real with you. Every single one of them is either 2 or 1 and 5. It is not looking too spicy at the current moment. And Cyclops, I mean, they are hitting their stride, aren't they? So many strong gunfights for them, some fantastic team play, and Cyclops are keeping the ball rolling. They're keeping the team play flowing, the comms flowing as well. It's working out in spades for them.
See that electrical, we're going to cheese upstairs here a little bit. Will be pretty hard for Talon to kind of sneak that one back out. When we take a look at their ops, no Twitch or Bravo to potentially sneak in there and directly deal with that claw, which means that clearing out that initial extension on the second floor is actually going to be quite the task. With the hard breach side of things, they really don't have an easy method to deal with it. I don't believe there's going to be potentially any secondary EMPs to get in the way of that either. We might have 1 or 2 sets of them, but we'll have to wait and see. And actually, no, we did at the top left that we will not have that appropriate utility for the attackers, nor will it begin to matter, as once again, they're going to lose a big piece of what would have been that top-down clearance right at the beginning of the round. Royboy gets knocked out here. That's the sledge gone, and they don't have adequate utility to make up for his loss now is the problem.
No, he is the most important piece when it comes to verticality in this game, and they've lost him off rip. That's the big thing about Sledge, right? He is such a strong operator when it comes to all facets of the game, a jack of all trades. But when you lose him, it is definitely a death blow to your team. You can accomplish so much, but he is also a high-value target. So now Talon, worse for wear because of that loss of Royboy, and might come all through here, but no, the gunfights, it's not working out. Oh my goodness. Finally, we'll get something from Kanos here. Arcully will be able to pick up something. They've gotten some sight control, but oh, they didn't check the door frame. A lot of damage going out, and not really too much to do right now for Talon. They really need some kills. Marble, very aggressive here. They could have just went for the plant, John, but instead, a deep rotation all the way through Ivy. Does this work out for them? No, it doesn't. The case is down. Cyclops They've basically just gotten gifted the round here. Kanos has no bullets inside of the Commando. I mean, what a clown fiesta.
Full site stability assured at that point too, because the 3 players or so that had been taken out right from the beginning of the round was all of the range soft breach or just soft breach overall the team had brought to the table. So you saw that at the end, that like one top-down breach they made in the inside of Kitchen was realistically the best they could do at that point, because they just had no capability to harass out the angles the defenders were playing from. Their setup was fully secured because of that one, gave them even more confidence to just kind of swing out and take the duels against Cyclops. And again, not that they've been, or take the duels against Talon, excuse me, not that they've been struggling in those duels in the first place, but the way the site was set up there just made it that much easier for themselves. Talon, unfortunately, not a whole lot to show us here on Villa, already an 0-6 half, and unless there is a big change up to things where Talon are able to improve their own playstyle on the defensive side to give us at least a few rounds here, in my view, more than likely, this is going to be a quick 2-0 shutdown from Cyclops.
Yeah, we are quickly hurtling at victory for Cyclops, and not only that, they've brought some more unique pieces to play for this round that could really throw a spanner in the works for Talon that they're not necessarily comfortable playing around. And not only that, but they've brought some other things that could assist with this. And actually, as soon as I build it up, they're going to knock it down, right? That's why we win in these things. It was going to be the Glass there, but the Jackal also a fantastic choice here for Anaton. And honestly, I like that a lot more. The clear coming through is going to be extremely potent, especially as Talon. I think Cyclops has definitely hit them hard enough to kind of make them system default, because they're kind of just going right back to what, you know, the household names, the favorites, even things that we just don't really see all that much in comp anymore, like Vigil, you know, kind of a self-serving character. He's going to come into play here, and Talon's going to see if they can potentially get some big gunfights out on more of their routine players, or characters, rather.
This is as basic of a kind of current meta delay comp as you can get right here, with maybe the Vigil being a little bit of a wild variety of it, of course, since we don't see Vigil played all that much anymore.
This is all like year 4 and prior characters, minus the Goyo.
Like we said, big focus on the delay over everything else. That's where the only real deviation from this one is, but it's otherwise a classic hold. Is actually Kanos is getting some pretty good angle work going here, at least from the start of his conquest over by the main bedroom doorway. Loses the plot a bit, but thankfully his teammates also picking up the pace here as well, just as much, if not more aggression on top of that. Beautiful Nitro sync from Kanos to get kill number 2 going here. Cyclops, looks like they got a little bit more work cut out for them here inside of the second half, as at least this first round has been put into an incredibly tough position based off of the way the Talon are showing themselves now that they've swapped sides.
Well, Talon have been able to at least procure something here in this round for their very first defense. Arcoli, mismanaged flash there, but Black Gray won't mismanage his throwable. Frag grenade hits its mark. I'll take out the mute. And now Cyclops looking to bring it back yet again. We saw one big round from them inside of a 2vx, and this could be yet another position that comes to bear for them. Misa, able to hit some nice shots as the track on Arcoli works out. Black Ray, though, will know the position of Vigil now. Some drone work working itself in as well. Ready for the swing, and it's a miss when it comes to Misa. Black Gray, though, will be able to hit his mark, and well, be a big rotation here for him. He's going to rotate all the way over towards Astro. He'll be sussed out here. The case down inside of Master. He's got a long way to go all the way towards site, but fortunately enough, just enough time to be able to try and accomplish this.
We'll certainly go for it, but this is going to be tough, of course, keeping in mind the fact that they started this working from a 2v5. He's got the read on the 90 player. The 90 player's smart, though, just backing away from the situation. Not going to directly take the duel, just bait Black Ray and waste out the remaining time sync that's still left on the clock there. He'll try to, again, credit to him, just moves right into the play there, doesn't waste a moment of his time. But as you might expect there from the 3v1, works out pretty heavy-handedly in the favor of the 3, as they do ultimately take that control. And Talon with a very convincing first round, stealing some of that aggressive prowess from Cyclops' playbook. Make a dominant stance in the first round of the second half and avoid the outright 7-0 at least. But how long can they keep that going? That's now the big question here. Hopefully for the long term here. And if we see the outright 6-0 run back, that will be very, very impressive to say the least. But let's see indeed how things go for the next few rounds before we start talking about an outright comeback.
I mean, how hard can it be to be flawless in Rainbow Six Siege? Come on, it can't be that difficult, right?
Just two very defender-sided teams is what we'd have at that point, basically.
Yes, indeed. Honestly, I feel as though for Cyclops, if we see this big push out of Anaton here on his just making operator, we'll say, the one that really made his name, then that could be all she wrote. That for this series at least, Cyclops well within their right still to take this at any moment in time, and still seemingly willing to try and change some things up as well, making these big adjustments as the info game comes through, and doing a pretty successful job of managing a lot of these different portions of this situation here. Only going to be able to, or only rather losing one drone inside of this opener, so still plenty of info to work off of initially as well. So seems like they're at least going to be able to start on the right foot.
Expect a much more measured approach, at least for the first minute or so from Cyclops this time, due to the aggression that we got out of Talon back at the beginning of round number 7 there. Took it right into Cyclops' face, so expect a little bit more hesitance this time from Cyclops, mainly in the form of Anaton to switch up as well over to the Monty, just to make sure they could put their own force kind of directly in the way of that one and prevent the same level of success that at least Cyclops were finding almost for like the first 4 to 5 rounds here, before Talon was finally able to get their feet onto the ground. Once we switch sides now. Away from that though, Cyclops still in pole position. Any one of the next 5 rounds comes under their control, and this game is done and dusted, but Talon going to certainly still try to get in the way of that one. Quite a bit of aggression leaned out from them over towards the red stairs, but not really lining up in anything they can execute onto the early clear from Cyclops, as they're being quite cognizant with their drone presence. And here we go, the Monty walking directly into some of those direct extensions out from the site to make them ultimately a bit of a moot point.
Well, transitioning in through AVG right now is Cyclops. Strong play here from Anaton thus far as he assists the team in clearing out this area. Drone game still solid for them as well. They're going to have our Cully off on a deep rotation. Oh, Roy boy had every single moment to try and land that headshot. We see why those are so very critical in a game like Rainbow Six. Our Coley decapitates Roy Boy. Cyclops looking for more. A deadly position now for Kanos. This will take down one. Looking for the shots now. It's going to be Talon and Misa, actually, to hit the next mark here as we get down into the last minute.
Cyclops, unfortunately, taking a little bit too much time to get into an execute position, and specifically for our Cully to kind of pull this trigger on the back flank. And he's already been red as he goes for it, is the other problem, too. Talon with a much better read of the defensive scenario right now. Although Anaton working his way in. We've been seeing a storyline, even looking back at the major about a week or so now, of these Monties being able to frag things out. And Anaton gives us a small piece of that there as he contributes to at least 1 kill. Tries to go for a number 2. That player tucks themselves a bit too deep into the depths of the trophy defense to make that feasible here. Anaton also now going up against a deployable shield. It does not looking like a situation he can really force himself through, but okay. Kill number 2.
Oh my
Absolutely
goodness!
No
they
chance.
know where he is!
The triple kill potentially coming in with Sayora as well. Takes Anaton, oh my goodness, ends the game with a triple kill Monty round. What an insane finish from Cyclops, and they will take the cake, a 7-2 into a 7-1 as they more than earn their spot in the JPKR Grand Finals with a performance like that.
I mean, what else do you expect out of Anaton? You said it. We saw a lot of aggressive Monty play at the major. Who is Anaton? He's the originator of that. He's been doing this for years and years, and just another representation of why Japan is one of the most awesome regions to try and keep up with. They have a very unique play style, and man, when it pops off, there are some fireworks.
It certainly shows its stuff in the best of forms. Their beautiful play from Cyclops, not just of course inside of that round as well from Anaton, but throughout the entire course of the series, they're really just dominating when it came to especially their early round presence as well, oftentimes shutting down Talon's hopes before they could even begin to build it up there, especially once again inside of that first half of the second map there, really bringing it to them with a perfect 6-0 shutdown there. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, I do believe that is going to close things down here for our first series of the evening. We still have our European series coming up, though, in just a few moments. Stick with us. We are going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to get you folks ready for Wild up against Wolves here as we wrap things up for day number 1 here of the Rainbow Six Gamers Without Borders event.